All right, we're going. Actually, I need to take my meds. I've got terrible allergies right now.
Okay.
So, man, thanks for doing this, man.
No problem at all.
And hey, my name's Tommy. I don't remember yours. I looked at your post and it went in one ear, not the other.
Yeah, I'm Dominic, Milton, Trott, and the author of the Drug User's Bible.
The Drug User's Bible. I saw that, man, and it immediately made me think of Alexander Shulgin, Pi-Cal and Ti-Cal. That's immediately what I thought of. Are you familiar with those books?
Yeah, I've obviously had both of them.
Oh, yeah?
And I think it was a demonstration that what I did was possible.
Yeah.
For anyone not familiar, he did certain types of psychedelics. He actually invented them.
You
as a chemist. And I didn't. He did.
Oh, okay.
He invented a number of psychedelics,
yes.
and he tested them on himself. Yes. So the concept of testing and self-administering a range of different drugs was already in place. Mm-hmm. He did it. Mm-hmm. And I was aware of that, and when I actually came up with the idea of the Drug User's Bible, I knew that actually it is possible to do this without suffering any catastrophic health issues if it's done properly and carefully.
Yeah, man, I like your I like your clothes. I like the whole attire. I like everything I'm seeing. It looks so cozy. It looks so cozy, man.
I'm in England and it's winter and it's absolutely freezing outside, literally sub-zero.
It's
not. It pays to actually have a couple of layers of clothing when you're out and about, which is what I've done.
No, it's not as cold here, so I guess I can't complain. So let's just jump into it, man. When did you start? When did you start the book?
I started self-administering and testing the drugs well before I started the book, because the original idea was a spreadsheet.
Yes.
It got way out of hand for that. But what happened at the start was I came across videos on YouTube, and I was sort of contemplating for a long time about the fundamental questions of life.
Yeah.
And that led me to Terence McKenna, which led me to ayahuasca.
Oh, yeah?
And I researched ayahuasca, and for me it was fascinating, and it was safe, and it was as guaranteed as possible to produce a visionary experience or something like that. So I decided that I was going to go to Peru and actually experience that.
Do the thing.
It's quite a long time ago, 10 years ago. But not just completely off the bat. I decided, well, what I will do is I will do a lot of research on psychedelics. Mm-hmm. And that led me to, well, maybe I should try a couple of low-dose psychedelics, which were legal here.
Uh-huh.
This was the legal high years. Mm-hmm. So it was when I was starting to research for those and play a little with those that I discovered that there was a sort of a underlying issue with drugs in this country, across the world, really, and that online, at least, when I was researching on forums, people were dying. Occasionally somebody would just fall off the radar completely, and that was that. And the word would get back after a period of time, or shortly thereafter, that they'd made a mistake. So that got me thinking, well, what mistakes are they making? So I started researching that, and it occurred to me, and it panned out that by and large, a lot of the mistakes were common mistakes, and they were around dosing and onset times and durations. And it was really difficult to find the information for the drugs I was testing for the ayahuasca trip for them. It was really hard to actually get that accurate data.
Yeah.
And that's when I had the idea of a spreadsheet. I thought, well, maybe if I produced a spreadsheet of everything I was doing with these sort of guides and information and everything, I discovered that might be useful after I've done the ayahuasca experience. So I went off to Peru and I did had the ayahuasca experience, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
And it was when I returned that I thought, people aren't going to actually read a spreadsheet. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
And people, no one's got Excel on the phones, and
yeah.
I thought, well, how can I do this, and how far should I go? So the original idea was I'll do the psychedelics, but people weren't dying with psychedelics.
Yeah.
It was the other classes of drugs.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided to write the book, really, because a book is, how would I like the information? If I'm going to do this, and ideally, how would I like it presenting if I'm going to try amphetamine or cocaine or whatever it was? And I personally would prefer a book.
Yeah. Because
you can just sort of pick it up, open it, and there it is. And it's rather than searching, and is this site trustworthy? And maybe it's not.
Yeah.
A book that's pulled it all together. So, I thought, well, a book would be how I would like to receive the information.
Yeah.
I would like it presented to me if I was trying and experimenting with the drug or drugs. But I realised, this was a real undertaking. It was a big project because if I'm going to embark on it, I've got to cover all the drugs that people take.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of drugs. So what I decided to do was just start and go along and see how far I can get, and then decide if I've done enough to merit actually creating the full book. Mm-hmm. So I then started with all the easy to access drugs and botanicals. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people ask me, how did you get hold of this stuff? Well, I ordered it on the internet. Yeah. And it arrived within 48 hours.
Yeah.
Because, prior to May 2016, all the research chemicals and legal highs were legal here. Pretty much all the botanicals I could just order from anywhere in the world and they'd be shipped over. So it was just a question of what order do I do this in and get it. So I did all the legal stuff in the first few years, and I just did for each drug. I had the same modus operandi. Uh-huh. What is the dose? What is the onset time? What's this going to do to me? Mm-hmm. What trip reports, if any, are there out there in the field? What do the books, the literature say? Because there's enormous. I've got a big library of books which I've collected for this. Yeah. There's some monsters on it.
Yes, please do.
In terms of size, things like that. Which is, fantastic book on botanicals.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know if it comes over on video, but that weighs a good few pounds.
Yeah. Oh no. It looks like.
I got everything that I could possibly get hold of, and. In terms of research material, and I'd methodically go through each drug, and methodically to the degree that it wasn't just random. One of the 10 Commandments, which 10 Commandments are generic rules for anybody who's taking drugs. They're not specific to the drug; they come in under the drug itself or the botanical. At the front are these are the general generic rules of procedure, 10 of them, that you will apply generally as a drug taker, a drug user. And they start with research, find out about the drug generally and what's its, and so on and so forth. So, one of those was research, which is why I got the book. But one of the 10 Commandments was if you're regularly taking drugs, leave a gap between experiences, but preferably leave a gap between different classes of drugs. Meaning, if you are a polydrug user, and you are determined to have all these drugs, well, maybe have a stimulant 1 week and the next week move on to a cannabinoid or a dissociative the week after, or psychedelic the week after, before you come back to, that's just a general sort of piece of advice to avoid addiction.
Yeah. Oh, the addiction. I was going to say overlap, that maybe they affect each other's experiences.
Well, there's the tolerance as well.
Yes.
So if you leave, because a lot of people take any drug they can get hold of, or they will take combinations of drugs or lots and lots of drugs. If you're in that situation, that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
Then it's wise to adopt some sort of pattern and record it to avoid addiction to any particular drug. I mean, chances are you've got some psychological addiction to drugs as a thing. But to avoid a specific drug addiction, I've got that in the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
So that is what I practiced when I was going through all these drugs. I would actually set the order out. I would research them. It'd take at least a week to research a drug anyway, and then I would do the tests. But as I said, in the early years, it was all just fetch the drugs to me. Order them online, record the information, write it for the book, then do the next drug. Later on, obviously, I had to get to the individual drugs that were scheduled, classified in the UK. The famous heroin, methamphetamine, and so on and so forth. And that required travel, as did a lot of the botanicals. And travelled all over. But particularly for the botanicals. Because I said the last thing I really wanted was the police breaking down the door and taking me away.
While you're on 5 hits of acid, you don't want the cops breaking down the door. Like, oh shit! Like,
that's the last thing.
Exactly. Yeah, man.
So a lot of these drugs are going to create just a bit of anxiety. Let's not compound that by having sat here.
It's like that Terrence McKenna quote. He's like, he's given his trademark voice. He's like, I'm a naturally paranoid guy. He's like, we could be in the middle of the Amazonian jungle at midnight smoking a doobie. I hear a twig crack. I throw it in the river, and I'm like, I don't know these guys. it's just like, yeah, dude. You definitely don't want to compound it because
that's exactly right.
It is. It could be. So I went to visit my brother last year in Washington D.C. and CBD had just become legal. Not even really psychoactive. Just I just wanted to try CBD. Despite it being legal, I still did it and was like. I was in his apartment and I was like, shit, are we good? And he was like, dude, chill the fuck out. And I was just like, yeah, it's hard to...
It's hard to get over. I've had, many years of cultural engineering. Of propaganda.
If you smoke this, the Duncan Trussell says, he's like, no wonder weed causes anxiety. He's like, you see every commercial and it's like, if you take a hit of this blunt, you'll have a heroin needle hanging out of your vein by Christmas.
The one that got me was if you take heroin once, you're addicted and you're going to die. And that's what I was having. And I knew that wasn't true, but even so, when I actually tested and self-administered heroin, I was still sort of, oh my god, it's heroin.
Am I done for? Yeah, it's
something it's difficult to shake off when you've actually been the victim, if you like, of so much cultural propaganda over a very long period of time. It is.
So in college, I graduated the University of Georgia in 2013 with a biology degree, and I was accepted to medical school in the University of Miami. I decided not to go, but all throughout college, I would meditate every day, and occasionally I would smoke weed. But I was very much, drugs are bad. Drugs are, those are bad. They're evil. They'll mess up your brain. And every once in a while when I would be meditating, I would feel a little thought in my head, and it was, hey, you're not happy doing this. Like, that just wasn't my calling in life. But I kept suppressing it. And I remember thinking... I'd hear Joe Rogan talk about psychedelics and how they will make you face a truth that you don't want to face, and I would always no, that's bad for you. It's going to mess up my brain. And then I remember reading a Terrence McKenna quote, and and said the reason why the government wants psychedelics illegal is not because they're worried that you're going to jump out of a second-story window. It's because you'll realize that everything you know is fake, or everything you believe is false, and that it's something about the societal conditions we're living in aren't natural. And so I decided right after my last exam, December 2013, I decided, I was like, I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was like there was a splinter in my side. It was like, you're not happy with medicine and you're about to go down this entire life. And I was like, what? I was like, I gotta try psychedelics. It's like, it's the only way. Like, I need to face the truth. But for what you're talking about, I was like, I don't want to do them in my apartment. So my best friend was like, let's go up to my lake house. So we went up to a lake house up in North Georgia, mountains, no one around. And we went out and we sat in this field of golden grass, and we took mushrooms that morning. And I remember we were laughing at the peak not because I'm so high, but because I remember thinking, this is what I've been told, that this was evil my whole life. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the trees breathing, and I'm thinking about how grateful I am for my parents and my friends and my family, and how wonderful it is to be alive. And I just remember thinking, this is what I've been scared of my whole life. And that experience is what made me decide not to go to medical school. I was like, I'm not happy with this. But to stop talking about myself, the point is I remember doing this, but I think I would have done it a lot sooner had there been a drug user's Bible, because I couldn't find any. I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. I was very interested in psychopharmacology, but I couldn't find any reliable information. You could go on Arrowhead or Blue Light, but you couldn't find peer review studies. You couldn't find, with controls and double placebo gold standard tests. And I eventually did it on a whim. But I wonder how many people, something like your book, like they could look it up and be like, okay, this is what it is, Well,
one of the
sorry for that. I just went on a rant about myself.
No, it gives me something to hook onto. I mean,
okay.
Two things. I'll probably forget the first one by the time I explain the second. The point that came to me is one of the intentions in writing the book was to actually, not to lace it with opinion. Yeah. At least the drug tests themselves. I know there's 4 sections. There's the sort of introduction to drugs, if you like, and the generic safety procedures. Then there's chemicals, then there's the botanicals, and the final is the sort of worldview. And that's the place of drugs in society and the propaganda and drug tourism and legal information. So on and so forth. That's in the 4th section. And certainly the actual core sections of the book. I'm not going to be, a propagandist. I'm going to be honest, give factual information, explain honestly what it was like for me, after 5 minutes, after an hour, after 2 hours. That's why the original version of the Drug User's Bible was called The Honest Drug Book.
The what?
Because the Honest Drug Book.
Oh, the Honest Drug Book, okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to emphasise that this is honest. Yeah, there's nothing. This is exactly how it was, and this is honest information. It's only after when I wanted to expand it that it got renamed to the Drug User's Bible. But going back to what you talked about there and the role of psychedelics as a catalyst, for me, I felt it didn't. I had the ayahuasca and a few other psychedelics prior to that, but it wasn't sort of epitome where I was told you must write this book. Yeah, it was more of a release. That when I got back and I contemplated and assimilated these psychedelic experiences, it was a release that you can write this book because, as you say, all this is nonsense. It's cultural engineering. It's social management. It's not the actual truth.
It's not reality.
It's not reality, and that's, it was the psychedelics that temporarily put me in a space where, this isn't rocket science. Everyone knows a psychedelic knows this. It takes you to a space where you can reflect on this reality is perceived from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And once you've been outside this perspective, this perception,
this bubble,
you never see it in the same way again.
You can't,
and it doesn't dominate you to the same degree that it did.
Yeah,
I want to say that psychedelics released me to write a book on all this, and this particular book. That's what I mean. That I was no longer constrained by the parameters of the social construct.
Yes, you can,
and that was because I'd had the psychedelic experiences. So that's the place of ayahuasca and 1P-LSD that I had prior to that. In terms of the creation of the book, it wasn't a sort of message from another dimension or an alternative reality. It was. I've had these experiences. I've been able to take a perspective outside the construct, and having done that, I was no longer bound by the rules of that construct. I didn't feel bound by the rules of that construct. So I thought, I can write this.
Yeah.
Why would I not write it just because?
Yeah.
Because they.
Yeah. Exactly.
Society say, this is a taboo subject, and this is wrong, and something. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. This has to be done because people are dying because of their stupidity.
Exactly. It's the world's going. We're going off the rails. It seems like we're heading straight towards it's a cliff, and Terrence said it so well. He said culture is like a locomotive, and it's. I mean, obviously, I can't speak like Terrence. I mean, no one can. But he's like, culture is this, this speeding locomotive barreling down the tracks, and no one's even looking at where it's going. And he's like, and psychedelics are. He's like, they're not a cure-all, but they show you how to use the machine. Okay,
they take you outside. They get you temporarily off the train.
Yeah, exactly. You can look
to the degree that there's a train.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so because
once there's a train, you can't act in the same way again.
Because before it, you don't even. Yeah, you're right. Before it, you don't even know there is a train. It's just that's reality. And then you step outside and you go, oh, we're on a train. Like, never mind where it's going. Like, we're okay. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's impossible to. It really is impossible to describe. Like, the best way I could describe, so I did 1P-LSD in 2016, and the best way I can describe it is it's like what's 1 + 1? 1 + 1 is 2. Okay, sure. But let's say you had just never thought about 1 + 1 your whole life. When I took LSD, it wasn't like all of a sudden I understood calculus. It was just I understood that 1 + 1 was 2. So the point is, so why should I take this? Well, when I took psychedelics, I realized that the important things in life are to pursue happiness and to, love everyone. Well, that sounds so simple. Like, yeah, everyone knows that. But you don't really know it until, for me at least, it was like you can be told these things. You can watch the Terence McKenna YouTube clip. You can be told this, but it stacks up. It sounds rational and logical, but believe in something just because somebody told you, and actually experiencing something and knowing it. It's the latter that changes how you relate to it. Yeah, it's somebody saying something, you don't change in terms of your perspective. You experience something and you do change. Yeah, and, when people say, "Well, you changed," and well, yeah, and it's not the drugs that change me; it's experience. Exactly. No biological change in who I am. Yeah, you're still the same person that you were before. Yeah, it's just I've had these experiences, and that's what changed me as a person, and I think for the better. I would say for me as well. Yeah. But it's the experience that actually did that, and I'm grateful for the experiences that I had with psychedelics.
because they gave me this different perspective and these different insights that I would never have ever have had in my life. And they changed me.
It's not. I mean, I know we keep quoting Terence McKenna, but another great one he had was, he said, "Not doing psychedelics your whole life is like not having sex. You just never know what it's really about."
No, I don't think you do. I mean, people try to get to, it's meditation. I've got a lot of time for meditation, because what the people who practice that try to do is they understand that you are not your linear thought patterns.
You're not your body.
That's not who you are. You are the awareness behind them.
Yeah.
And again, you hear that, or words equivalent to that, spoken all over the place, and it's true. But you can try to meditate, and I can't meditate. It's really difficult to you sort of
sit still.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do, but I think that certain psychedelics achieve the same goal.
Yeah,
it's about they elevate you outside this sort of train of thought.
Yeah.
The train, about,
yeah.
Which is the sort of your life narrative, if you like.
Oh, yeah.
And people who've been Buddhists, they try and get outside it, and that's great. It's enlightenment and it's transformative. I think psychedelics do the same sort of thing, in that they'll take it. Only it's a lot easier to do.
Yeah, it's
I think again, McKenna again. He said, "You take this and on the money, and it will deliver."
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
You land on the money. Yeah. Terence also said, he's like, sure, you can meditate and chant and go to Tibet for 12 years, and that's great. Or you can just give me 15 minutes of your time. It's just like...
Yeah, and it's absolutely true. And, it's only when I'd actually had a few psychedelic experiences that I understood that the Buddhists and the people who meditate, they actually do have it right.
Uh-huh.
It's just that what a way to go about the process.
Yeah, it's the same.
I'm not equipped to sit there and I couldn't. I tried.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah.
I can't meditate.
Yeah.
Now I can. Funnily, I don't sit there, but now I can sort of, go on a walk or go somewhere. I can actually stop the thoughts and experience the felt presence of immediate experience.
Yeah, just you can start to...
I can turn that on a lot more easily than as a technique, if you like, post psychedelic experience. Before those experiences, I've never been able to do that.
Yeah.
Now I can do that.
Yeah.
But it's fleeting. I can't stay outside.
You can't stay there. Yeah, you can't.
But I think with psychedelics, you can, to a degree, if you actually work on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was the psychedelics that basically enabled me to proceed with the book, because it freed me of the inhibitions, it freed me of the fear of, I'm taking these drugs and I shouldn't be, and still a certain amount of anxiety that's it's there, but nothing that I couldn't easily overcome because I'd been outside the construct,
the bubble, the train.
The train, so I was able to say, well, I'm going to do it. So I will do it. I'll do all the legal stuff here. And I'll do all the illegal stuff, or the botanicals that have to be done in the authentic setting. I'll go to wherever is necessary to do this, and that took a few years because there's a lot of different, a lot of different materials that had to be tried and tested, and the problem is because of I had to test them cleanly. I couldn't say, I'll have drug A on this day and I'll have botanical B on the next day. I had to leave a period of time between each experiment to clear my body and be totally able to rationally assess the impact of the drug and the experience in total confidence that there was no effect from a previous drug experience. So I could go and travel and try something, and then I'd have to come back because I can't stay away.
Can't go stay. Yeah,
so I have to come back and then go out again to have this next one.
Yeah.
So it took forever travelling and going to and fro to different places, and that's why it took 10 years to write the book.
That's what's awesome is that because you did it so meticulously and with such stringent standards, it's the average person doesn't have to do that now. It's it's like
I was always aware that I had to potentially people are going to the intention of the book is to stop people killing themselves.
Exactly.
It's that simple. So at least I can do is do it properly.
It's like charting like an undiscovered part of the world. It's like the first guy has to go out there and be like, there's some mountains here, there's a pit there, there's some snakes over there. But if he can come back and he can bring that and write a map, that can help so many people. And that's why what you did is it's so badass that you did it so meticulously, and you did it over 10 years because you made a very detailed map that now any idiot like me can use. And I say that joking. I said that jokingly. That there had to be a degree of relativity. And this is where I couldn't say, well, you test that. I couldn't do it with a team. You can't.
You test that because they're different. You lose the relativity between the different experiences. You
have to have the same subjective mind.
The same person
looking
through
it.
The same body, the same height, the same weight, the same build, the same psychology. Done all of those. So everything is relative in terms of
to you.
He's the same person.
Yeah. It's that. I mean, that's something that. Yeah, it's like you can't just, with drugs you can look at the you could look at, okay, this is what it does to your blood pressure, and this is what it does to your endocrine system, but none of that means anything once you get to something like LSD or psilocybin. You can't read in a textbook like, so your blood pressure will do this, and your eyes are going to do that, and by the way, you're going to see the glory of God and nature and universe, and we all love each other, we're all one, we should stop fighting each other and recognize that we're here for a short time and that there's nothing but bliss at the core of the universe. After that, your urine's going to be like, you can't just fucking do that. You have to, like you said, it has to be relative to one individual.
Yeah, I think so, and the drugs have to be relative to each other because the difference between say LSD and mushrooms or DMT and same with the other classes of drugs. I mean, it wasn't psychedelics were obviously my favourites because they've been relatively benign in terms of safety.
Yeah,
and they produced a number of clear benefits.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the other drugs, some of the other drugs had terrible experiences.
Yeah.
Really, really traumatic. It wasn't a journey that was all this is great, because it wasn't great. Mm-hmm. Overall, I'm really glad I did it as an individual. Mm-hmm. But it was like life. There were sort of peaks and troughs, and some of the troughs were absolutely appalling. They were. Sometimes words can't describe how bad they were.
Like which ones?
That's two classes in particular: deliriums
and dissociatives,
Datura and nutmeg, and then nutmeg was the first seriously bad drug experience I had, and I don't in the book say don't have this drug, because that's not the role. It's it's more, if you're going to have this is the information you actually need.
Yeah,
that's but in the case of deliriums, I do pretty much say, look, really, this is the information.
Yeah.
Really don't do this.
It's not,
because part of lots of reasons. One is, a lot of medics consider a delirious state to be a close to death situation.
Really?
Poisoning, delirium itself is not where you want to be.
Yeah.
It's dysphoric. It's frightening. It's terrifying. You're in pain.
It's confusing.
And you are confused. So there's no recreational joy in it at all. Yet you're playing with a substance which to get to that state, you're on the edge of killing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And two things: one, you might kill yourself, or two, because you're confused and you're not in control, and you're seeing things that aren't real in a dysphoric sense. Mm-hmm. You could easily walk in front of a bus, or stab yourself, or these things happen.
Yeah.
With this class of drug, and a lot of people die with them. So, but I had to. I did everything possible to make sure. Yeah. I did nutmeg a long time ago, but the tour, I was absolutely how am I actually going to go about? And I didn't have it in the honest drug book in the first edition of the thing, but when I actually looked at around a bit more closely after that had been published, I realised that there were quite a lot of people playing with it and experimenting with it. I'm thinking, I really have to put it in.
Yeah.
But how am I going to do this, given that I know the dangers? And the biggest problem I had with it was the dose, because one seed can be literally 6 or 7 times more powerful than the next seed. So when you've got that sort of variation between these little seeds, and there's a picture of them in the book, if you set your dose at that, well, actually, if you have a number of seeds and they're at the extreme end of it, you're dead.
Yeah.
So that was really. So I had one seed.
Yeah.
Just so that I could record this. Did I have a psychoactive effect? Yeah.
Really? Yeah. What was what was it? What was nutmeg like? What was
nutmeg? I had that about 7 o'clock in the evening, and I actually read about it in a tiny book called Adam Gortoid, I think he's called Legal High, something like that. So okay, well, I'll try that. This was before I was doing the book.
Yeah.
So I had the nutmeg, and I waited, and nothing happened. And it got to about 11 o'clock, and it doesn't work. I'm going to bed. So I went to bed, and at some time during the night, I woke up to go to the loo. And honestly, it was like, you've been spinning round and everything's going round. It was like that. Everything was spinning. I felt sick. My head was hurting. And I stepped sort of out. I couldn't stand up. And I remember crawling to the toilet on my hands and knees. And my hands were going into the floor, like sort of they were going into glue, and I was sort of pulling them out.
Melting.
My fingers were extending like.
Holy shit.
And it wasn't even still, it was tilting the ground from side to side. And I got to this toilet, and I couldn't get myself hooked on the thing to urinate, and it was just, obviously somehow I got back into the bed, and I just lay there, and I was in and out of consciousness for hours, and I was ill for a week. I was literally, I couldn't get, the next day I couldn't get up for work, and it was just. It was just it was delirium.
That sounds.
And that's when I came back years later to do the book, and I sort of thought, what an idiot!
What the fuck was I doing?
You were really dead. Didn't you even think to actually work out what this was going to be like?
I wonder what this will be like. Fuck it, let's go to bed.
I was thinking this doesn't work. So that was nutmeg, and that's why I thought, okay, well, obviously that goes in the book, but I don't have to redo nutmeg.
Yeah.
But that's what I was frightened of with the datura, because I knew it was just the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
The other horrific sort of drug class was the artificial cannabinoids, which are commonly called spice and amber, and they started as JWH 018, which was a chemical which produces similar effects to cannabis.
They sold spice in the United States, I believe, up until 2010, at least where I was.
Yeah.
And it was just because it was supposed to be the legal alternative to weed. And I remember one time, me and my best friend, we just finished our first year of college, and we went and bought some spice, and we were smoking it in the basement, and we threw the joint outside when we were finished. And the next morning, his mom found it, and she was like, "What the fuck is this? Is this marijuana?" And we went, "No, it's spice." And she went like, "Oh, okay, that." But in hindsight, I'm like, people were dying from spice. But it's like, is this weed? No, it's spice. Oh, okay. But we always joke in hindsight. We're like, that's like 1,000 times. They made it illegal because people were smoking it and dying, and we're just like, what the?
The JWH 018 was the start. They made, and that was bad enough. That wasn't a good drug to use, but they made that illegal. So the chemist came up with this different different drug, which was further removed from cannabis and stronger. That got made illegal. So you'd have this cat and mouse, and each generation
variations
of cannabinoid got worse and worse and more dangerous and more dangerous. So we ended up getting to drugs like AM 2001 and 5-FAKB48, and those were the last two I had, because at the 5-FAKB48, smoked it like exactly the same as cannabis, and it was legal.
Yeah.
And wham! It was paranoia, anxiety. I went up to bed, lay there in fetal position.
Yeah.
Look, I'll make this end soon. Make it end soon. But I was lucky in that I'd had a lot of drugs, and I knew that this will end soon.
Yeah.
This isn't permanent brain damage. This isn't a permanent situation. It's temporary. I will recover, even though it was awful. Even
though it's terrible. I
knew there was an end, and I just remember at the time thinking, if I was a kid and this was my first drug experience, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, that's true.
And that would make it 100 times
million times worse. Yeah,
because then you'd be in the realms of thinking it's never going to end.
Yeah, and that's
and that could cause.
Well, that's when you could
sorts of psychosis.
Well, that's when that's when you overreact. That's when you have someone run outside or something, and then that's where you can get into physical danger.
It was I was prone to panic then, but I knew it was going to end. If I didn't, I don't know how I would have reacted.
Yeah.
And the other thing was the book. I have to record this.
Yeah.
So that people actually do understand that this is and for the kids that they know that. Well, actually, this really isn't something that you want to be taking.
Yeah.
Again, I don't say, don't you be taking these drugs at all, but this is what happened.
If you're going to do it, this is what happens. And
and this is what happened to me, and do you really want to actually endure a similar experience? Because I'm not exaggerating it.
Yeah.
I'm actually explaining exactly what the experience was like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's me that's telling you this, and I've had 157 drugs, and I've got no reason to lie.
Yeah.
Given that I've gone out there, I've been enthusiastically stating that ayahuasca was a fantastic experience, and the actual dangers are minimal compared to to sort of opioids, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So it's me that's saying it, and in honestly, I've said to you, you really don't want to be taking this cannabinoid,
or nutmeg.
because I didn't have a good time.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're not going to have a good time if you take it as well. And it isn't a drug to be played with.
Yeah, but I think that's an important thing to what you're doing, what you did, is because I talked about this with a friend on another podcast, and we thought, I was talking about, I'm 29 now, but when I was in high school, I was like, me and my friends drank so much before we were 21, and we were doing the stupidest shit because we didn't know anything about alcohol. It was just, don't drink it. Well, fuck that, I'm going to drink. So it's, I went to Catholic school, and it was, don't have sex. Well, everyone's going to have sex, so like, you might as well educate them on it. This is what will happen, this is what won't happen. And I always think, everyone, people say, the government, well, if we legalize drugs, society's going to go crazy. No, it's not. I mean, if you just, hey, guess what? If drugs are legalized, guess what? I don't give a shit. I'm still never going to do heroin. Because I don't want to. Like, me personally, I did psychedelics.
Well, if the old drugs are bad, it clearly doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. It does not work.
Saying that is, they lose credibility with anybody who's any common sense. Because everybody knows that, hang on a minute, you're selling a drug on every street corner called alcohol, and it's addictive, and it's killing thousands of people every day. And yet you've got this benign drug called cannabis and magic mushrooms, which nobody is dying from. And you're saying they're all bad. Well, that's a lie. So therefore, your entire message is bogus. And
that's dangerous.
If you're lying on that, you must be lying on everything.
So I'm not
going to believe you when you're telling me that this drug's dangerous. And that's when I meant with some relativity to actually, what I think people do need is the truth. Well, this drug there and that drug is there in terms of this and that, and so they can read for themselves and understand for themselves the risks they are or are not taking when they decide to take a particular drug. Or experiment with a plan. They need it. That's the route forward. Education and awareness, so that people can take informed choices and protect themselves, rather than jump into this in the dark, which is what most drug users probably do, without any real knowledge or detailed information on what they're about to do, and the information they're getting from official channels is lies, and exaggerations, and myth, and that's not doing any good at all to anyone. It's filling the prisons, and it's creating risk for all the people who use drugs. It's absolutely insane. That framed my sort of outlook when I produced the book, and I have to do the job they should be doing. In terms of information and present it in book form. So in a way, the book shouldn't be necessary. They should be doing all this.
They should, but
the government, the schools. In my opinion, that should be done by society. It shouldn't be somebody like me having to do all this and create the book and they say, well, here you are. Here's the information that is really, I found really difficult to find.
But what's awesome is...
And I know that, I'm old enough to know what I'm doing, and I can worked on the internet for 20 years, and I found this difficult, and that, so here it is. I shouldn't be doing that. This book shouldn't be necessary at all. It should, the society should be doing it, but society isn't doing it. So, hopefully the book fills a void temporarily until society gets its act together and actually takes drug education seriously and reforms drug policy.
What's so cool, though, is that, yes, society should be doing it, and it shouldn't be necessary. But I think the coolest thing is that, and you kept saying, and I shouldn't be doing this. But the coolest thing is you did do it, and you stepped up and you produced this thing. And not only that, so when people say, people that smoke weed or take psychedelics, they're lazy, they're hippies, they don't do anything. Bullshit. Look what you did. You got up and I mean, that's as much as a go-getter sort of hustle thing as you can do. And that's amazing. And it's also, I think of, was it Gandhi? Be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
That's what's awesome though, is you did that. Like it,
I just felt, I never felt lazy. I mean, I never felt, even though I'd sort of seen society in a different way after the psychedelics, it didn't really change, powers of motivation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
it's all myth.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is the myth is if you do this, you're going to be lazy. And I'm thinking you did this and you wrote a book. So the very act of creating the book, I think, dispels a lot of myth, which is what I think is so cool.
Well, I mean, for the Honest Drug book, I kept completely off the radar because I'm not a media guy.
Yeah.
And it was never, it's not me, it's the book.
Yeah, it's
the book that really is so. But in the end, when I got asked by. I did something with Vice, and I got asked by Freethink to do that video, which you probably saw. I thought, oh God, I'm going to be filmed. Do I really want that? And the answer is no. But on the other side of the coin, I thought, well, people are going to have a picture of the author of that book. And chances are it's going to be a negative picture. Well, it's probably double negative.
Yeah, who is this guy?
Seriously.
Yeah, who is this?
They're going to have a picture of it'll be a druggie. Well, what is a druggie? Well, I think they're not going to be expecting a middle-aged English guy who's lived a normal life.
A well-spoken, handsome chap like yourself. Yeah, they're not expecting. They're not expecting that. Yeah, the video pop.
They're not going to expect that, and will that hinder or help the book? And I balanced thought, well, if we're in the game of confronting the war on drugs and the people who are selling the myths and the lies and blocking information from people who need it to stay alive. If we're in the ball game of confronting those people, I shouldn't be hiding.
No, you can't. Don't give them any ammunition by not having a photo. They're gonna jump on that. Who is this guy? Why won't he show his face? And instead, by coming out and just smiling and just being like,
that was it. I thought, well, if I just go and I'm there, they might think I'm this guy's weird or whatever, but they can't say that any of the sort of pictures they paint. Oh, lazy guy who's smoking, he's on drugs all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm clearly not on drugs, and I'm not an addict. Yeah. And I've had a life largely like you guys who were fighting against the people who were taking drugs.
Yeah.
I've been employed all my life. I've got kids.
Yeah.
And it's just that, I'm not you. You're wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. It's.
And that's why I came. I said I agreed to the interview. I said, okay. I'll do this because I thought overall it will actually help.
It will help.
Rather than hinder.
It will help
Even
a lot.
if people don't like me, it doesn't matter. What they can't do is they can't stigmatise the book by stigmatising this character they invent as the author.
Exactly. They're
he'll have never done a day's work in his life. Well, no, so they can't do any of that now.
Exactly,
because I'm here and this is who I am.
Yeah,
and that's why I came out. Although, as I said, I don't like doing it.
Yeah,
it's nerve wracking. I'm sort of conscious and aware.
Yeah.
Oh God, there's a camera on me. But I just thought it had to be done, so that's why I did the interview.
Yeah.
And because I thought it dispelled a lot of the sort of abuse that I saw the book getting from people who've not even read it, by the way, or seen it.
Yeah.
And they tended to be people who abuse. Oh, it's encouraging drug use. Well, no,
not at all.
Have a look at the book.
Yeah.
he must be a terrible man. And so I've got called a terrible man. I did a radio interview on Irish Dublin radio or something, so I didn't have to be seen. So it wasn't so bad. And the guy was reading the sort of text coming in. It said, "Get this terrible man off the airwaves."
Yeah,
I'm thinking, I'm not a terrible man.
What? I'm a good guy. I thought I'm a good guy. So
you can't confront that unless you do come out and confront it as a person. That's why I decided to do it, and hopefully it helps and not hinders. But time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, even your Reddit post. I saw it's your Reddit post and it's a picture, and it's like I can only get so much out of that. But I'm sitting here talking with you, and I'm seeing you smiling and laughing, and it's just like, yeah, there's no malevolence behind. Not that
I'm relatively normal.
Yeah, really.
Maybe socially awkward and things, but I was anyway.
Yeah.
Drugs haven't made me like this.
Hey man.
This is what I've always been like.
Yeah, man. I've been weird and crazy my whole life. People can't say it was acid because I didn't do that till I was 23. So hey man, I was fucked up before that.
That's right.
Yeah, so that can't be a point of dispelling. It makes me think of what Terence McKenna said. Actually, no. So I want to go back to what Duncan Trussell said. You brought it up earlier. They're selling alcohol in every drug corner, and they're saying this one's fine. And but you got cannabis over here, and they're saying don't touch that. Well, eventually you smoke cannabis, and you go, well, hold on, like I got sleepy, I ate a cookie, whatever, I took a shower and listened to Pink Floyd, like whatever, and you go, oh, so they must be lying about everything. Yeah. But the thing is they're not lying about fentanyl, they're not lying about crystal meth, and that's what Duncan Trussell said. He goes, so you smoke some pot and you realize nothing's wrong with it. Well, next thing you know, you go, shit, let's go try some heroin. Let's go try some PCP. And he goes, and that's when shit gets bad. Because they for the most part, are telling the truth about the dangers of that. But when they blatantly lie about the harmful effects of cannabis, and then they openly promote alcohol. I mean, look at every commercial. It's a bunch of sexy girls in bikinis and a bunch of and it's, find your beach, Corona. But I mean, I used to work at a bar, man. I'll show you what real alcohol is. It's people getting drunk, screaming at each other, puking, and getting knocked out. And it's
the contradictions are too obvious for people not to see. The kids, not to see. You're lying. They're lying to you.
And the danger.
They're lying to you because you can see it with your own eyes. They're telling you that alcohol's fine. You go and drink it. They're telling you drugs that because everybody knows if they've not had marijuana or cannabis and they've not had a psychedelic, they know somebody who has. And there's enough buzz and noise around for everybody to actually understand that, alcohol is far more problematic drug than cannabis.
Yeah.
How can you possibly argue it's not? Well, if you're rational and sane, you can't possibly argue that. So if you say that, alcohol's fine and cannabis isn't, that's a lie.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna lie once, why should we believe anything you have to say?
Exactly.
And that's putting it quite bluntly, but that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
If you start lying to the public and your lies are found out, which they very quickly are, you've not got any credibility when you're telling the truth.
And when you need to tell the truth, like, hey, don't do fentanyl. It actually is bad.
Exactly right. And so what's left is a void. There's no information that's credible. You put the information out, everyone's ignoring it because you've lied. And you lie about all sorts of drugs.
Yeah.
And you make drugs that, it's insane to make illegal a plant.
Yeah.
And it's actually, if you have care about public health, it's insane to have, alcohol up there promoted on every corner.
Yeah.
Just tell the truth across the board about everything. And if you do that, then you've got a chance of it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
Drug problems, there'll be fewer alcoholics because, people drink. I can't find people like alcohol, but they've been trained to like alcohol through social conditioning.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people who drink alcohol if weed was available or other intoxicants, more benign intoxicants, they surely have those instead. So you're reducing the problem with alcohol, you're improving public health across the board, and all they have to do is tell the truth. And stop locking people up for basically using a less toxic drug than alcohol. That's just insane. But the message is completely void and worthless in the eyes of people who've seen these contradictions, and therefore they have no information. And that's the problem. And that's as I said earlier, that the book shouldn't need to exist, but that's why it exists. It exists because they've created this void and this zero credibility situation that somebody had to come along and say, well, don't believe them, fine, but believe this. Don't believe me. Read it, and then go and research it outside the book itself to see for yourself.
See that I'm not lying. This is what I'm
not making it up. Why would I? And if I've quoted, you've seen the book. I've quoted, doses. I've actually specified not just what I have, but the generic doses where I've actually got that information from. Okay. So you can actually go and reference and check for yourself if you have a problem. So, you've got to do that because, you're taking a drug that you've never had before, you know nothing about. You're putting your life on the line. I apply this to myself. I didn't want to die on this project. I didn't want to. I'll do this grand project on drug safety. I might die, but I didn't want to. So believe me, before I actually tested each drug, I did the work. I found the information. I worked out, what are the appropriate normal doses that people have, and what's appropriate for me, and what's it likely to do to me, and everything that I could actually get hold of, I did it. And I think the benefit of the book is you don't have to do that now. You can use this as a start point. You get extra stuff rather than think, I've got a blank sheet. Fuck it. I've got this drug. What am I going to do? I don't know anything about it. Well, at least you know something now. In the book. I shouldn't have to do this, but I have. It's there. But I shouldn't have had to do it. But unfortunately, we're in a situation where they're not doing it, and they're not going to do it anytime soon.
It's in the actually. Do you care if I run to the bathroom real quick? Hey, tell everyone. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Tell everyone exactly who you are, where they can find the book, the name of the book. I'll be right back.
I'm Dominic, Milton, Trott. I wrote a book called The Drug User's Bible. That's what it looks like. It looks a bit like a Bible, I guess. I just wanted to make it plain and obvious what it was. And I self-administered 157 psychoactive drugs to record the essential safety data and the subjective experience from a safety perspective. It took 10 years to write this. And a long time, a lot of travelling to actually undertake the experiences. The first section is sort of a general introduction to drug terminology and how to interpret the book, how to test drugs for identification, purity, and the 10 general commandments of drug safety. Second section is all the chemicals, methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine, you name it. Third section is all the botanicals. You're probably aware of cannabis, and I've mentioned ayahuasca, but you've got lots of different drugs that are taken throughout the world in plant form, seed form, and root form. They're the ones I did a lot of travelling for. And the final section is drugs in the world generally and drug welfare. How to approach if you're going to have a drug test, a mandatory drug test at work, culture, the law, the relative harms of all the different drugs, and so on and so forth. And you can get it on Amazon. Just search on Drug Users Bible or Dominic, Milton, Trott, which is my name.
Hell yeah! I'm gonna put your link in the YouTube video when I put it up. I can keep, so I if you can't tell, I never shut up. I keep talking. I can keep going. I don't want to. Can you keep talking?
Yeah, let's do another 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah,
whatever you want.
Yeah, no, yeah. So yeah, no. The problem is I can talk for like 10 hours straight, and every once in a while I'll find myself talking, and I'll see the guest just kind of like nodding, and I'm like, oh fuck, this guy probably needs to go. And so, yeah, no, please, yeah, we can do 5-10 minutes. So, one thing I wanted to bring up was, so obviously the reason why alcohol is legal and you can buy it on every corner is because, well, that's just the one that everyone's making money off of. And, okay, sure, yeah, I get it. And, you know, and that's why you don't want pot legal, is because it's cutting into your sales. Sure, like, let's not pretend like that's not a reality. Those are huge corporations incorporating tens and thousands of people with tens of billions of dollars of revenue. Yeah, okay, I get it. There's no reason why Budweiser can't get into marijuana. Like, you can still make your money off of it. You can still have your commercials. You can still have it at every corner. I mean, shit, you go into, you know, I can go into a gas station, I can get a Monster energy drink, caffeine. I can get tobacco, I can get cigarettes, nicotine, or I can get alcohol. I can go get a beer or some liquor, and so there's my ethanol. There's no reason why you can't, you know, here's
if I was a capitalist, if I was Budweiser,
I mean, they have
money. I would actually be looking forward and thinking, well, maybe one day these guys are going to win, and if they win, my product's going to be regulated, and it's going to be competing with all these other drugs, and it's, you know, frankly, as alcohol, it's going to lose.
Yeah.
It's going to lose badly. Yeah. Because if all the drugs, the people weren't historically and culturally weaned onto alcohol, if it was just a straight playing field from today,
for everyone,
alcohol would be one of the least popular drugs.
Yeah.
For all sorts of reasons. And then, you know, if I was Budweiser, I'd realise that and say, okay, well, let's change. You know, maybe we should actually get into the cannabis industry and start producing cannabis products and spreading our risk a little bit.
Yeah,
that's how I would think. If I was a capitalist,
don't look at it as I'm going to lose money. Be like, hey, let's shift our sales. Let's shift our revenue. It's
I mean, imagine that they would do that, but you know, maybe they're thinking about it. But I would be if I was that sort of way inclined. And it was a capitalist corporation.
Their name is Budweiser. They have Bud in the name. like what the fuck? Yeah, it's like there you go, Budweiser. You could say, hey, makes you wise. Yeah. You got, you know, have like a sensei.
Just
be like,
change the spelling of wiser.
Exactly. You're fucking right.
Budweiser.com. Budwiser.
Or not even that. You could do wiser. You just call it German. Be like, it's Weise, Budweiser. Like,
I'm just going to check if that's actually.
Hey man, you might want to snag that. You might want to snag that domain while you can.
Budwiser.com spelled. No, it's actually taken, unfortunately. So there's
hey, that gives me hope. Maybe they're gonna do it. But it's you're gonna, and your slogan could be it's the wiser way to smoke. Like, hey, don't go buy it from some guy in the corner. Get it from us. You know, have all your regulations. Not only that, so look at just how fucked up the drug cartels are in South America and what they do. And the brutality in which they operate and suppress people and bully. By legalizing all the drugs that they're selling, you're taking away their paycheck and you're taking away their ability to do the things they do. So to me, there's a moral obligation. Like, let's rob them of what they have, because these people they behead children and they put it online. Let's legalize so they can't make their money, and it's so to me it's a win because it's coming over the border regardless. I mean, granted you're in the UK, not America, but it's coming over the border regardless. Like, we can't stop it. We never will be able to. So
well,
you might as well
50 years
legalize
into the war on drugs, I mean, what is it going to take for them to realise they've lost?
Yeah, a couple more $1 trillion.
They're not going to stop people taking drugs.
Exactly.
That's never going to happen.
So,
and I think I argued. When did I argue this? There's an article I wrote. I argued that, and I'm not the first to argue it, that it's my body, it's my mind, it's my consciousness. And if I don't have sovereign ownership of my own consciousness to do what I want with, to experiment as I choose, I don't have any ownership of anything at all. I'm a slave.
That's Terence McKenna.
Yeah, he said it.
Yeah.
But he's absolutely right. I'm not being told by some third party that I can't take my mind in this direction.
Yeah.
And do this with my consciousness.
Yeah.
That's my decision,
and it's only yours. It's only yours.
I have control of that. That's an innate human freedom. It's a human right. It's the biggest human right.
It is.
That there is, and that's what I believe. And I'm not going to be told I can't have. Do this with my mind if I want to. It's mine.
Yeah, it's exactly. And that's one thing.
And I think people might not articulate it, but I think most people consider that to be a de facto position. They wouldn't even. Of course, it's my mind to do with it, but they actually think it through. They're trying to tell you can't do certain things with your own mind when it's yours, and it's not harming any other party.
Exactly.
There's no third party injury or impact whatsoever. They're not going to overcome that ever. They're not going to win the war on drugs. All they're going to do is perpetuate misery and death.
Yeah.
And yet they seem to be perfectly happy to do that. Well, I'm not.
Yeah. And that,
and I'm part of the book is to actually, the last section, you've probably seen it, is to actually to state things like that and say, look, that's why it covers welfare and not safety in the second edition, because if you're a victim of the war on drugs, or you may be a victim of the war on drugs, here's some information that may help you. It may help your welfare. So although it's a book on safety, clearly, the last section does embrace welfare to some degree, because I realise that drug users quite often, the law enforcement is a bigger threat to the individual than the drug they're actually taking.
Yeah.
So I felt it was reasonable to actually put information in there on certain things you can do to try and protect yourself. Fairly basic, common stuff, but nonetheless information that a lot of people don't have to try and mitigate the risks that society actually creates. So that's in the final section. But they're not going to win the war on drugs, and they're actually, making the situation, aggravating an already terrible situation by denying people the information they need to stay alive, and deliberately so. Yeah,
it's
it's not that they're unaware that people don't have safety information. You know that
they're very aware, and
so they're choosing not to educate people.
It makes you it almost makes you draw the conclusion like, well, then that they are benefiting from this. And
people in positions of power tend to want to retain the status quo till they retain the power and the revenue streams and so on. And a lot of politicians are totally self-serving.
Yeah.
A lot of certainly corporations are, and a lot of executives. So all I care about is myself. I mean, you've got a president like that right now.
Yeah.
So you've got people who hold the power, who control everything, have that outlook, and frankly, they do not care about anybody other than themselves and the people around them. That is the limit of their empathy. And that's the problem. And that's why they have a war on drugs, which they know is causing disaster for the human race. It's why they deny essential safety information when they know that they are denying essential safety information. They don't actually care.
They don't give a shit. They don't give a fuck.
And it's a long struggle and a hard struggle to actually counter that and educate enough people to actually understand that is the situation. And you've actually got to, in this hopefully the short term, well, in the long term, do something about that.
Yeah.
That's what I believe, and that's what I'll try and articulate towards the end of the book.
And I think so. You hit the nail on the head. It's power and money. I think, like I said earlier, I think if they can be shown that you can still make a lot of money doing this, I think that's where we'd see the change. Is we say, hey, no one's trying to cut into your profits. Budweiser, do whatever you want.
I think there's a risk that, I've had to a degree some exposure to this. If they make just cannabis legal, then the barrier will come down between cannabis and alcohol, and there will still be a war on drugs.
Yeah.
It's just I think it's important that the sort of activism that's occurring around psychedelics is important, because so that other drugs are, the eyes are open more widely and go beyond just one extra drug is allowed, but no more. We don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and
because then you've still got misery.
Then you're still in the same spot. You've just moved the border of the war
line a little bit. Yeah,
but we
want the line to be removed.
The thing is
the entire issue to be opened up and approached from a humanitarian perspective. I think that's what's required.
Yeah.
Just actually legalizing one drug and considering the problem solved.
And just be like, that's done.
That's not going to solve the problem.
But
and there is a degree of, I've had, there are people who are advocates of cannabis who are hostile to all other drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't think that is actually helpful to either cannabis advocacy or the underlying problem, which is war against people's inalienable right to do what they want with their own mind, because it's their mind, and not a third party's mind.
Yeah, think about what Terence McKenna said. If life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness doesn't apply to my own mind, then the Declaration of Independence isn't worth the hemp that it's written on.
I've got that as a sort of a sort of intro to the book. There it is. There's the quote.
Hell yes. Yes.
That's the dedicated to the victims of the war on drugs.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
So that's the first thing you actually hit when you open the book, because I think he hit the nail on the head when he said that.
Absolutely.
And I believe that personally.
Absolutely. Well, I got one more thing to say, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
So what you said about we're just moving the line. Say now alcohol and weed are allowed, but nothing else.
Yeah.
I think that that's what they're going to try to do. But I think that the nature of marijuana, it won't allow that. It's because the very drug.
It sort of does start to free people's mind up a little bit.
You make alcohol legal. It's easy to still keep them in that bubble.
Alcohol is a depressant. It stops people thinking.
Yeah, you don't care, whatever.
It duds people down.
Exactly.
Exactly. So that's probably one of the reasons it's still legal, because it makes people more malleable to the propaganda and the rules. Whereas weed doesn't do that.
Weed, you take one hit and you're like, the government's lying to us, man.
More tolerant.
Yeah. And I think that's where they've shot themselves in the foot. Is they're like, we'll give them weed and then they'll shut up. No, man, you just lit a match in a forest.
I hope that's the case.
So do I. Because
I hope that's the case.
Because look what's happening in Colorado. Colorado was the first for weed, right? And then everyone else followed. Now Colorado has decriminalized psilocybin. Slippery slope, guys. Slippery slope. It's a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time.
I know that psilocybin's not going to kill anybody.
No. Psilocybin.
Why was it?
Psilocybin's going to make you.
I think you might be right. I hope you are. I think it's an interesting perspective.
I think the ball has started rolling. I don't think there's any putting it back in the bag. And
let's shove it a little harder, shall we?
Yeah,
see if we can keep it moving.
Keep it going. Well, that's what I think. That's what I think your book's doing, man. The ball's rolling, and your book comes along, and you just smack the ball, and you said, "Go faster." That's what you just did, man. So, shit, man. Terence, I think Terrence would be proud.
Hopefully.
Hey, man, you know what I think you need to do? I truly do. I think you need to try to get on the Joe Rogan Experience. I think he would have you, and I think not an ego thing, not a let's make you famous. I legitimately think that it would, if it got your book out there, I think it would help an innumerable number of people.
But the problem is, how do you actually get to somebody like that? They have people around them to stop people like me.
Stop crazy guys like us.
Actually getting to,
Well, hey,
if I spoke to him or Russell Brand or somebody like that, said, look, this is what I've done, and this is really, in my opinion, it's of huge benefit to society.
Yeah.
I think as individuals, they may well be interested enough to actually, give it a bit of exposure and inject the information into public consciousness.
Yeah.
But how do you actually get to do that? Because I've sent an email off and said, look. No response. I don't think he's got to him.
Well, yeah. I mean, and you can't blame him. The guy's got a million people.
Yeah, I'm not blaming him. It's just there's a barrier there, a wall to protect celebrities.
So what we do? We do what we just did today. We do an hour and a half. We got a video of you talking. It'll be uploaded tonight. My internet sucks, so it's going to take a couple hours. What we do is we just start sharing this video, man. We'll get it to him. Fuck me. We don't need me. We need you up there.
I'll touch wood and hope that happens, because that would, he could do a lot of good.
It could help. It could no hyperbole, no sarcasm. It could save millions and millions of lives.
Yeah.
And not only that, it could be fun.
It could shift the debate significantly, a lot more than I can do without that. I haven't got that platform.
Hey, neither do I, man. Neither do I. But what we can do is, we can start somewhere. We can start pushing the ball. We can start.
That's right. What's the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. Same thing. They legalize
something along those lines.
Yeah. So it begins with a single subscriber. So that's what we got, man. And I can do my best to push it around. I think you should do your best, and I think it will work, man. I think it will work. I think someone else is going to have you on, and it's gonna take off. And I don't think it can be stopped, man. I think we'll finish it with this quote: "Truth is like a lion. You don't need to protect it. Just let it out of the cage." And I think that's all we need. I think that's beautiful.
Nice ending.
Hell
Thanks for having me on.
Hey. Thanks for having me, man. Hold up your book.
Much appreciated.
Drug User's Bible. I'm going to put a link to that in here. I will send you a link to the video when I finish it. I'll send it to you on Reddit or whatever, and I'll start inserting the link in Joe Rogan forums. Be like, hey, get this guy on. Psst, get this guy on.
Much appreciated. You never know. It could happen.
I think it absolutely should. I think it could. He had Dennis McKenna on. He had Terrence's brother. You're the next best thing. So I think it could be good, man. Hey, man, God bless. Thank you for coming on.
Much.
And dude, this was fun as fuck. I hope we do it again. All right. Don't be a stranger, man. Let's definitely do it again.
My door's open.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on, brother.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.
Good night. Cheers.
Cheers.